All right, we are on. Is anybody there? Can anybody hear me? How cool is this? We are live. Let's see if anybody joins. I doubt anyone will, but I just wanted to try out Streamyard and give it a try. See if anyone joins. I'm all alone. There's no one here beside me. Let's see if I can wrangle up some people. Hey, there we are. How are we all doing? Wow. Happy Father's Day to everybody. Happy Father's Day to you, Anthony. I assume that's Anthony. This is my my first time trying out Streamyard. Hey, Mr. Galaxy, how y'all doing? All right. I'm glad everyone can hear me. I just wanted to try out Streamyard. I hadn't tried it before, and I thought that folks might want to chat. I'm doing a little Father's Day break here. Got a little workout in. Got to get the guns going. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Man, I love that live camera. Oh. All right. Trash compactor. Hello. So I hope everyone's having a great Father's Day. And I'm just sitting in my collection room trying out StreamYard for the first time. Boss Bounty had mentioned I might get on his Hanging with the Boys show. He's Boss Bounty. For those of you who are not subscribers, I highly recommend it. He's got a great live stream that goes on every week, I think on Fridays at 4 p.m. Central Time, my time. And I just thought that I would try this out, and I'd be curious to see what everyone's doing, and if they'd like to ask questions about me or my collection, about graded action figures, AFA versus CAS versus UKG, all that good stuff. I don't show my face very often for good reason with these gigantic ears. Look at those big boys. Oh, it's like I could fly if I just had some muscles in there. Anyway, I hope all's well with everybody. What kind of questions we got for me here? Give me something. Don't just watch me. I have been a busy bee lately. I've sent in, let's see, 2 separate orders to Collector Archive Services. I just got into Vintage Collection, which I blame Boss Bounty and Only One Kenobi. Those guys have gotten me into Vintage Collection now, and I don't know. I've been picking them up left and right. Let's see what I got here. I've got a few that I'm sitting on, going to get graded at some point. Nothing fancy, but I've got a couple of nice ones here. Let's see. What am I hunting for? CAS asked me. I just picked up a really nice one that has not arrived yet. It was expensive though. It's a Mandalorian vintage card and vintage collection card, figure, but he's a mint on card factory error on a General Lando card back. How awesome is that? So I paid a ton for it though. It was an eBay auction, and I paid way more than I wanted to, but I had to have it. So that one is on the way, and it's going to go straight to CAS for grading because it's such a rare item. I've heard a bunch about a lot of batches here recently, sealed batches from Hasbro, cartons or whatever, that have had that in there. I saw a few in the Facebook groups, and then lo and behold, somebody listed one on eBay, and it went for a ton. It was like 60 some bids, and I paid a lot for it, but it's going to be awesome. Bradley Vandiver asks, I'm gonna try and get to everyone's questions here. Bradley, thank you for watching. Average cost of getting a figure graded. It depends on the figure, honestly. If it's a modern prototype, for example, it's between $70 and $100. For an average, just straight Kenner license figure, you're looking at about $35, unless it's like this one here, the Luke Jedi with the separate cape stand. That's a little more expensive and worth it, in my opinion. How beautiful is that? I've got 2 more of these on the way, but this is the Palatoy Luke with the blue saber. Really nice figure. And these cost about $45. So that's about the average cost for bootlegs. Bootleg figures, they are a little bit more expensive than licensed figures. I'm just picking up random items from my collection, but this is a bootleg Vader, Mexican bootleg. That one was $40. They're usually about $40 for one of those. Yeah, so that's about it. They get more expensive from there if you have non-sonic welded figures, things like that. And then carded figures are about $50. Let's see. Trash Compactor asks, how do AFA or CES test the weapons for authenticity? Well, there's a number of ways you can do it. They have microscopes that they use to check to make sure that it's not a fake. There's a lot of fakes rolling around out there, even ones that have the float test. You know, the float test where you put it in water to see if it sinks or not, and that usually denotes that it's fake. Even the new bootleg fakes are passing float tests now, so it's really, really difficult to tell whether it's legitimate or not. But I know CAS does that. I'm sure AFA does that. I've even had a couple that I bought over the years that have had fake accessories, so it's really annoying, and it's a real problem in the industry. That's a whole separate issue. I'm not going to get into that because it creates a lot of heartache with collectors. You know, there's some collectors that don't mind them, and others that, like me, that tend to go for authentic, obviously, since I collect graded. CAS asked me, what am I looking for? What am I hunting for? I mean, my wife I'm very candid about my situation. My wife is furloughed right now, so I am keeping the budget tight. And so I've got a lot of collector grade vintage collection lately. That's kind of been my thing. For those of you who are into vintage collection, I don't see a lot of graded vehicles from the vintage collection. A lot of graded figures, mint on card figures, but not a lot of graded vehicles. So I recently sent in, let's see, the Imperial Troop Transport with the Mandalorian logo. I recently sent in the combat assault tank from Rogue One. That's a vintage collection vehicle. I sent that in. I also sent in the I'm still coming through. Let me know if I am. Oh, there it is. So I've sent in a few like relatively inexpensive items versus some of the stuff back here, but just allows me to keep collecting despite the COVID-19 stuff and people losing their jobs, things like that. My wife's furloughed right now, so it's not the end of the world, but I'm trying to keep the budget tight. So, but see, I've got Knight of Ren. I've got that mist card that I mentioned. I picked up the remold of the Luke Skywalker vintage collection. It's a really nice mold. I also picked up Luke Dagobah Landing. That's on the way. And I also have Yak Face. I really want the sail barge Yak Face, but I'm trying to keep the budget tight. Bradley asked me, what is my most prized possession that I currently have? I don't know, man. It's a good question. I've got some that I've been offered insane money for that I've talked about at length on my channel, like my Bosk bootlegs. Somebody offered me $5,000 for the pair of those, and it was really tempting to almost get it, but I decided not to. I decided not to sell them, but they're really nice. I've got a couple here that are arm's reach. Let's see. This is a really cool one. I've got a bad glare, guys. I'm sorry. I've got some sunlight. This one is a UKG graded Spanish Pock Jawa. This has the dark brown or black bandoliers. Really difficult item to find, but it's made in Spain. Early Spanish figure, UKG graded 85%. It's a really awesome one. I like that one a lot. And then obviously we got the Vinyl Cape Jawa. That one's a nice one that I've had in my collection for a while. And If I lose you guys, I'm sorry. This is my first time. I'm not very technologically savvy. This is a AFA 85 vinyl Cape Jawa, so another nice one in my collection. I don't know. I've talked about this one at length, and I probably would not buy that one today, just given the costs. I probably would have. Uh, I probably would have gotten something else with it, but you know, it was many years ago when I bought that. How many Vaders do I own? Trash compactor asked. I have here graded between bootleg and various Kenner molds. I think I've got 19 now, and I've got one more at CAS right now that is a textured Cape Spanish PBP Vader. That one will be number 20 in my collection. I'm sorry, I'm turning my phone off. So that's pretty cool. I've got 3 baggies. I've got a couple of really cool. This is a cool one. It's not particularly expensive, but I liked it a lot. This is a Polish bootleg Vader. I've talked about this one on my channel before, but I found it with the I found the figures separately, and I always wanted one with the cape. And then a seller that it's a very trusted seller in Poland had the cape by itself for sale. And instead of trying to finagle it onto a non-articulated Polish bootleg Vader, I had Collector Archive Services frame it next to it, and I thought that turned out beautiful. This is CAS graded 80. This is a early to mid 1980s unarticulated Vader. Hopefully that's coming through. I don't even know where the camera is on this thing, so I'm so completely technologically inept. So that's really cool. But I've got the Vader. This is a PBP Vader with a non-textured cape, and this was a UKG graded Spanish Vader, but I've got the textured cape at CAS right now, so they're going to be grading that and sending that back to me hopefully any day. So that's pretty awesome. And you know, I've got Taiwan. I've got all the Hong Kongs, things like that, lettered sabers. You know, all the different variations out there. I don't have like a double telescoping Vader. It's a little outside of my budget, and I don't know. You know, just I started with Vader when I first started getting graded figures. I picked Vader to start. It was my very first loose graded figure that I ever bought was a Vader, and that was many years ago. And it kind of slowly grew from there, just because Vader's my favorite Star Wars character. So anyway, pretty cool. But yeah, in terms of what I'm getting lately, it's been a lot of vintage collection figures. I did purchase a sealed, it's pre-ordered, I should say, a sealed vintage collection case coming in October. I think it's got the recase or the repacks of Kenobi in his Clone Wars outfit. It's got Anakin, it's got Wicket, and I think there was one other character I can't remember. Oh, Darth Maul. So I've got a sealed case of those, and I did talk to Collector Archive Services, and you can send the sealed case to them, and they'll grade them uncirculated. So that'll be kind of a fun project. There'll be 2 of each. So I've got 2 chances to get a decent grade on those. But I've seen some people open those sealed cases from Hasbro on Facebook, and I mean, some of those packing jobs that Hasbro has got, woo, man, they've got to work on their quality assurance, man. It's terrible stuff. Anyway, what else we got? I don't know. I had that big. Oh, I'm gonna move for a second. You can see how big that recent pickup was, the battle pack. It's just completely dwarfs the room. It just completely dwarfs. It's like this. It's like the Death Star overtaking the sun. I mean, it's taken over that side of the room. So I've got to find a spot for him. So anyway, what else has people got? You know, I really just wanted to test out the live stream. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about was I don't know what other people are seeing out there, but I have noticed with the COVID lockdown, and you know, now the economy's reopening a little bit, but with the COVID lockdown, it's been crazy. The prices. I expected prices to go down, and I was kind of like rubbing my hands together like Mr. Burns on Simpsons, and getting excited because I figured that a lot of people would be dropping prices to kind of help pay bills and things, but it's been the exact opposite experience. I don't know what other folks have seen out there, but the prices have just gone through the roof. I'll watch something on eBay thinking that, oh yeah, that'll come down to a reasonable price. Well, guess what? It didn't. It sold. It's crazy. I mean, just stuff selling for 20, 30% higher than what I'm used to, even with the inflated prices from Force Awakens. So I don't know. I don't know how that's going to shake out with the at least in the U.S. the economy is opening, back up again in a lot of states, most states. I'll be really curious to see what happens as people get back to work, money for gas, money for going out, money for travel, how that affects Star Wars prices. I don't know. That's a really good question to me, and I don't know what other people are seeing out there, but it's just crazy. But even on Facebook prices, I mean, yes, trash compactor, eBay prices are up, but I mean, even on Facebook, I mean, some of the prices that people are commanding in the Deal or No Deal groups, things like that. I mean, it just blows my mind. Some of the prices. Bradley asked, what made you decide to get Grand Admiral Thrawn graded? It looks awesome. Yeah, it is a really cool item to have. That's back here. So I was really into Black Series. I used to have, I mean, many dozens of graded Black Series figures before I sold those and focused for the most part on vintage. And back when I was collecting Black Series, I made it a mission of mine, and I spent several months trying to find a Grand Admiral Thrawn SDCC exclusive, which is what that is. I made it a mission to find one that was mint, absolutely mint, and it took a long time to find one. But I did finally get one, a great seller. I can't remember his name now, but he sent it to me really well packaged. I sent it to AFA. This is before I even knew of Collector Archive Services. But I said, AFA, please grade it and open it up so you can see everything. I would get it out, but I've got everything stacked in front of it. But it just turned out awesome. It came back with a 9.25 modern scale grade. It's actually one of the highest, I think, in their database. It's not uncirculated, obviously, but I've seen a couple of uncirculated 9.0s sell for $1,000 plus. But this one is 9.25, so it's slightly better. But really awesome piece, and I love it. And Grand Admiral, I've talked about Grand Admiral Thrawn. And hey, Boss Bounty's on. Nice. Surprise live stream. I was just testing out StreamYard. But anyway, I loved Grand Admiral Thrawn, and I just thought it would be kind of a cool centerpiece for my collection. And I've read all the books and Timothy Zahn books. There's a new one, I think, coming out soon. Helicopter in the background. That one is the Tomahawk. At one point, I had 85 or more mint on card vintage GI Joes, all AFA graded, and it was an amazing collection. I missed them terribly, but I sold them all many years ago, maybe, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. I had quite a few, and I sold them all for, I don't know, like $20-some thousand. I mean, it was a pretty insane sales process, but I dumped all that money back into to Star Wars, obviously. But I kept a few. This is the Tomahawk, and then above it is the Dragonfly. Both of them are 100% complete. I've got a few other ships hanging in my room, but it's just for decoration. This is a ridiculous room. So, but anyway, I do want to give a shout out to Boss Bounty because he got me on this surprise live stream, StreamYard technology. I mean, I'm 43, but I have the technological savvy of like a 75-year-old. So, that's what it is. Gerard Coyle, good evening. How are you? And so anyway, more than anything, it was just a test, and I wanted to see what questions people have. But I do have a Falcon up here, Trash. I've got a Falcon, a Slave One, Y-wing, Rebel transport ship. The first transport is away. I got the B-wing. I got an A-wing. I even got a full AT-AT with completely full of Hoth stormtroopers on the inside. So anyway, this house came with all these shelves, and I had to fill it up with random stuff. So this is what you're seeing behind here is maybe a quarter of the room. It's quite a bit of stuff. Anyway, but yeah, so like from my perspective, it's crazy. The vintage Star Wars figure industry has just exploded lately in terms of prices, and I'd be really curious to see what happens. I tend to track prices pretty closely, both on eBay and Star Wars Tracker, and even on Facebook. And I don't know what other people are seeing out there, but the deals are few and far between. So, but anyway, now that Boss Bounty's on, I wanted to at least show you. This is your fault. This is all your fault. Okay, this is I think I've got like 20 or 30 on the way. So, so that's been fun to start collecting. And Crazy prices, boss. I know it blows my mind. I'd be really curious to see if they come back down quickly or what happens. But the only thing I can contribute it to is just people got money to burn. Either they got stable jobs and they're staying at home and not spending money on gas and taking the wives out for dinner and they're dumping it all into Star Wars. So it's been fun. What other questions, you guys? You guys are awfully quiet. I've got a whopping 8 people watching. Man, I am just in high demand right now. High demand. So, and yeah, in terms of vintage stuff, though, I've got a few really cool batches at Collector Archive Services. Let's see, I've got a Revenge. I've really been into the Revenge sticker ESB cards. Those are really cool. I've got a Cloud Car palette there. I've got a Sakuda Japanese card back squid head. I've got a lot of interesting items that should be back any day. So, yeah, the live stream. I'm not popular enough, I think, to do live streams often, but I thought it'd be fun to give it a try. So, what other questions you guys got? Anything? It's going to be awfully it's awfully lonely here. So, yeah, boss, I would definitely enjoy being on the channel sometime. I don't know what I can contribute other than my dashing good looks, but yeah, I'd love to join you guys. So I really enjoyed the last one, and for those of you who are not subscribers, Boss Bounty and Only One Kenobi are probably the 2 best resources I've found for the modern Star Wars industry. I mean, they collect other stuff too, obviously, but man, your vintage collection coverage has been second to none, and I've really enjoyed learning more about it. I'm a newbie, and I'm proud to admit it. And there's a Hasbro live stream, I think, on Monday tomorrow, and I'll be working, unfortunately, but it'd be really cool to see. What else can we do? We can talk about a few of these others. Let's see what I got here. I'm just picking some random stuff off there, but this is a Hungarian bootleg Luke Skywalker. This is graded by CAS. I found this one from a seller in Hungary, and this has got the light gray pants. I think there was a dark gray pant version. He came with like a Bestman style blaster as well as a lightsaber. I've seen the lightsaber alone sell for $800. It's unbelievable. Trash Compactor asks what I received for Father's Day. My wife is awesome. She gave me money to pay for grading, so she knows me well. And I also did get a vintage collection Sith Trooper, so that was cool. It's really funny. My son has gotten into graded figures now. God help us all. He's 8 years old and he's already wanting to collect graded figures. And I was telling Anthony over at Collector Archive Services that children, in my opinion, children are constantly molting larvae, and all we're doing is molding them into ourselves. So he's already collecting graded items. God help us all on that one. I don't know what else you guys want to talk about, but I just thought here's another. This is another really nice one. This is a dark brown-haired Luke. I love my Luke farm boys. I've got quite a few of them. I got a couple double telescoping ones, but this one is a U85. Some crazy person pulled this off of a card, and I received a lot of flack for this one because it's a U grade, uncirculated grade. For those of you who don't know, and it's actually the highest graded U grade dark brown haired in the world. And I did not take it off the card, but man, some crazy people did. And that's all I got for you. What's the oddest figure that you found that took probably the most research? Wow, that's a good question. I think obviously I've got a lot of graded bootlegs, and there's definitely some oddball ones in my collection that you can check out on my channel. But I don't know. Off the top of my head, I would say that the toughest one to find were those Oratet Russian-made bootlegs from Oratet late early 1990s. I found a metallic green, which I think there's only 3 so far, or 4 in the world that they found. An orange, I think there's only metallic orange flight suit. I think there's only 3 or 4 of those. It was just complete random luck. I found them all. I found them both within a few months of each other. And I mean, it was just really cool to to find those and get them authenticated. I was worried that they were resprays because there's a lot of fakes out there, so it took a long time. Are U grades still going on, or were they stopped? U graded loose figures are not going on anymore for good reason. It's a touchy subject, but AFA and Collector Archives. I don't think Collector Archive Services ever did it, but I know the AFA stopped doing that as well, maybe 2-3 years ago, and for good reason. I mean, it stops incentivizing. I would call it less than scrupulous collectors from taking them off of beat up. Streaming is thinking right now, so I don't even know if I'm still on, but I hope I'm still coming through. There we are. So it's a very interesting subject that the U-graded vintage Star Wars figures and the repro yak faces that are out there. All those two subjects are so touchy. There's like the camps on each side of that are so firmly entrenched on their side of it that they don't want to see the other side. It's created a lot of negative reaction, negative commentary. So I tend to stay out of it. But me personally, I don't collect anything that is not authentic. I like the customs, modern customs that are not trying to reproduce, a vintage yak face, things like that. But me personally, I don't collect kind of repro or things like that. So, but to each their own. I'm not going to get in the middle of that one. That's for sure. Anyway, what else do people have for me? You got to have some other questions for me. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not that exciting of a person, I guess. So, but yeah, I've really enjoyed collecting the vintage collection stuff. And yeah, I mean, U-grades, they still command a higher price. I mean, some of the U-graded stuff that's selling these days on eBay, I mean, insane. U90s especially, they're selling for multiples of what a carded example could go for. It's just it's crazy. But anyway, I try not to buy any U-graded figures now, but the prices for those are definitely still high. So what's my grail pieces that I would love to get? That is a good question. I don't know if I'd really call a vintage yak face loose graded a grail piece. It's not particularly difficult to find one, but that's an item that I definitely would like to get sometime soon. Blue snags was another one I don't have, that kind of must have vintage figures that I'd like to have. Some of the more some of the less expensive items that I'd like to get are I'd love to find a rust stitch colored Jawa. I've got black, I've got brown, I've got light brown, dark brown. I've got a bunch of different colors, but that is the rust colored stitch is a known variant that is very difficult to find. Mr. Domo Toys, who's another YouTube channel, he's got a tri-colored stitch Jawa, which is pretty tough to find. The sleeves and the bottom of the robe, and I think around the neck area, they're all 3 different stitch colors, and that's a very, very rare one. That's the only one I've ever seen out there. So that's one I'd love to find one day. Some other, there's always Lily Lettys. I'd love Lily Letty. Those are some of my favorites. You guys might want to take a look at a couple of them. Let's see what we got here. This is one that just came back from Collector Archive Services a few weeks ago, but this is a Lily Letty Zuckuss, and it's got the original Lily Letty card back. I love these because they have the Letty logo right here. Toxic Limbs Bosk is another one that I will never have. That's just crazy expensive. It's crazy how many of those have changed hands in the last 3, 4, 5 months. I haven't seen one for sale in years, and that scares me a little bit. Worried about them being fakes. But if they're a trusted seller, then I actually know a couple of collectors that have them, and they paid quite a pretty penny for them. Those are several $1,000s, many thousands of dollars. I'll never have one of those. But anyway, I like this Zuckuss. So The seller of this one actually advertised this as a no country of origin Zuckus, but it actually is the Lily Letty version. So I got a great deal on that. I think I paid $65 for it. So for the figure, and then the card back was way more expensive than that. But I love these because it's got kind of drawings on the back of all the figures in the line, and I think it's a 50 back. But I love these custom cases that CAS does, and having the weapon on the side, mounted on the side, the figure on a nice pedestal stand, and then they put the card. I don't know if that's coming through, but you can see how they put the card inside a sleeve there to protect it, so it looks like it's mounted on the card, or they did damage to the card, but they didn't. So that's a cool innovation. I think that really steps up the game. What other VC figs you got there graded underneath Yak? Oh, those aren't graded yet. I was just showing those earlier. Those are ones. This is your fault, by the way, Tim. These are. I've got Yak. Let's see, Yak. I've got a Knight of Ren, and then I've got the Luke remold, Luke X-wing. I've got a Dagobah landing on the way at your recommendation. I also did get that miss card of the Mandalorian, and I've got I've got a few other. I got maybe 20 or 30, I think, that are in pre-order. So it's I've gone off the deep end with the vintage collection. And I was talking about it earlier. I did actually send in a couple of vehicles, vintage collection vehicles, to get graded just to try it out. You never see that, No one's crazy. No one's crazy or stupid enough to grade vintage collection vehicles sealed in the box. But guess what? This guy right here did it. Yes. So that'll be fun to see those when they get back from Collector Archive in 6 weeks or so. But this guy's crazy, as you guys know. So that'll be fun. And I'd love to get the Slave 1 done. The vintage collection Slave 1. We'll see. It's space is the issue. My son is giving me a thumbs up. Thumbs up, son. On the I'm doing a live stream right now, believe it or not. So yeah. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. Any other questions? Come on, questions for me. What do we got? What is everyone else collecting these days? I'd love to hear what everyone else has been acquiring. But I'm excited that that miscarded Mandalorian on the General Lando card. That was a highly competitive auction process. So I'm excited to get that one and check it out and get it authenticated. So I've seen 3 of those now. There must have just been, one of those factory workers is like, the color of Mandalorian's armor, the color of Lando's cape and pants, it's about the same. Let's call it a day. Let's go ahead and put those 2 together. So Head Over Heels and Black Series currently have them all. Wow, man, you're a brave man. Yeah, I had at least 3 or 4 dozen that were all graded, and that was fun to grade. But I just ran out of room, so as I'm doing now. So anyway, I guess I'll unless anyone's got any other questions for me. Oh, do I have shares in CAS? No, I do not. No. That's a good question, though, because it brings me. This might be a good topic to talk about briefly, but what are the differences in the grading companies, and who's better? Who does things better? What do I think in terms of the advantages and disadvantages of each? Well, let's go through them. AFA. Well, Action Figure Authority obviously is the standard bearer. They started the industry, and most people know them, and they do a great job. I think where AFA is having issues right now, I don't agree with a lot of their labeling on some, maybe on some of their foreign variants. You're welcome to go back and look at at my channel for the Lando PBP Lando. They labeled it as Kenner PBP, which I could maybe see that for Spanish POC figures since they use Hong Kong parts, but PBP was its own factory. I feel like they should just be labeled as PBP, the same way they do with Lily Letty. So I do think that they need maybe a little more flexibility. That's something that I'm trying to be kind to all the companies. So that's probably a negative, I think, with AFA, is that they do it their way and that's it. But they do a great job. Their cases are beautiful. Their etched accessory cases are nice. collector archive services, that's basically where I'm spending the vast majority of my grading money these days. I think that they do an amazing job with customization. I feel like the two areas where they need to improve maybe are typos on labels and on the turnaround times. Their turnaround times, I think, need a lot of work, and they're working on it. I mean, I do appreciate the fact that they're packaged and sealed, mint on card. Turnaround times are 30 days or thereabouts. I feel like their loose graded license figures are about 2 months. That's great. I feel like their customs are just absolutely second to none. I love their custom items, and they do a great job for me. So don't take this the wrong way. I just think that the turnaround times need to improve. I think in order for to capture a larger share of the audience who maybe are not quite as patient as I am with the turnaround time. So, I think if they can get the turnaround times for customs down to like 3 to 4 months, maybe 5 at the tops, that would help their market a lot. That would help their market share a lot. But as it stands, I've got some items still there from September, so that's 9 months and counting. I'm hopeful that that they will improve. They recently